Black women don't feel pain.
Native women are too poor to raise children.
These are common misconceptions that led to the push for scientific racism and the encouragement of pseudoscience. Most are familiar with the Tuskegee experiment that harmed 400 black men in 1932 to 1972, but few know of the several other examples of scientific racism that have occurred throughout U.S. history. Today we will be investigating the oppression of women by scientific racism through the experiments of James Marion Sims on black women and the sterilization of Native women. The Tuskegee experiment was far from being the first experiment that showcased scientific racism that specifically focused on African people. James Marion Sims, the father of gynecology, gained his title in an unethical way that reflects the ideas of scientific racism far before the Tuskegee experiment.
James Marion Sims, often called the father of modern gynecology, is a deeply controversial figure. In the 1840s and 50s, he conducted experiments on enslaved black women without anesthesia, believing that they felt less pain than white women, a racist and unsupported assumption. Among his subjects were 3 girls around 18 years old, Anarcha, Betsy, and Lucy, who endured repeated surgeries to develop techniques like repairing vesico-vaginal fissures. Eventually, he trained the girls to care for each other after all his white male assistants quit and the girls became skilled medical practitioners in their own right. Sims began operating on white women now using anesthesia. However, if someone died from his work, he would blame his African-American midwives. Though he made significant contributions to gynecology and opened the first women's hospital in New York, his methods caused immense suffering. Statues honoring him have been removed, and there's a shift towards recognizing the enslaved women whose sacrifices made these advancements possible.
While the Tuskegee and James Marion Sims experiments demonstrate the horrors done to African Americans, they were not the only group affected by scientific racism. As late as the 1970s, Native American women faced mass sterilization from the Indian Health Services, the healthcare provider on reservations. According to Dr. Lawrence, IHS sterilized between 25 to 50% of Native American women from 1970 to 1976, which was between 62 and 124,000 Native American women. Aaron Blakemore stated that the IHS performed sterilizations because they believed Indigenous women were morally, mentally, and socially defective, and doubted their ability to use other birth control. IHS used uninformed consent and coercion tactics that directly violated federal guidelines to perform their version of scientific racism. The sterilization caused heartbreaks within communities, leading to guilt, shame, alcoholism, drug abuse, depression, increased divorce, and the distrust of IHS. The native birth rate was halved, proving this was another attempt at the genocide of American Indians. Dr. Theobald reports that today, Indigenous tribes still face higher maternal mortality rates than white women.
These practices reflect the influence of scientific racism in experiments and forced procedures during this era. Medical and scientific fields in the 19th century would many times justify the exploitation and abuse of people of color by using racist theories that frame black and indigenous women as biologically different and inferior. Such beliefs were deeply embedded in scientific thought, leading to them finding excuses for these brutal, disgusting, and completely unethical processes.